all of us, we need to come to grips with the reality that the biggest threat to our freedom is a government that ignores the United States Constitution. Now, we were warned about this moment by James Madison himself. Encroachment by the federal government on state authority would be signals of alarm. The alarm bells are ringing. I detail all these challenges and everything that James Madison talked about in my book, Broken but Unbound. It's a book about how my life was broken, but how I remained determined to fight on.
Yes.
You know, isn't it great that we live in a state where a young man's life can be broken in half, and yet he can still rise up and be governor of this great state? We are the greatest nation in the history of the world. But we must realize our government is broken because each branch of government has strayed from its intended constitutional role. If you are tired of the federal government trampling the 10th Amendment and the president using executive orders to write law, if you are tired of the Supreme Court rewriting the Constitution and Congress sinking us into debt, if you believe in the power of the people rather than the D.C. establishment, then I ask you to join me in calling for a convention of states to fix what is broken in the United States of America. Now understand this. The problems that are ailing America are far bigger than what any one president can solve. And as the person who holds the record for suing the federal government, I can tell you, it takes more than lawsuits to fix what's broken in Washington, D.C. The founders actually foresaw this very problem, and they gave us the tool to fix them. They wrote Article 5 into the Constitution to give states, not Washington insiders, the authority to amend the Constitution.
Just because we haven't done it doesn't mean we shouldn't.
And today, states are using that authority, and the movement is growing. Since I called for a convention of states, states like Indiana, Tennessee, and Oklahoma have joined with other states across the country, ranging from Florida all the way up to Alaska, to call for a convention of states. We are going to do what insiders would never do. The Convention of States can and must be very limited. It should focus only on a few specific amendments. It will propose things like term limits.
Washington will never do that.
A balanced budget amendment.
Washington will never do that.
And restoring the 10th Amendment the way about a convention of states rewriting the Constitution. But remember this, the convention will preserve our Constitution from the federal government's attempt to rewrite the Constitution. And I've heard concerns that a convention of states could threaten the Bill of Rights like your Second Amendment rights. But remember this, it's the convention that will protect those rights as they were written by our founders, as opposed to letting Washington politicians rewrite those rights. And I've heard concerns about a runaway convention, but remember this, it takes just 13 states to block any radical idea. So now is the time to restore our Constitution. Now is the time to protect our freedom. Now is the time to have a convention of states without fear of a runaway convention. Believe me, I worry far less about a runaway convention of states than I fear a runaway federal government that is destroying this nation.
We already have a convention. It's called the Supreme Court.
Now, some people say that allowing states to lead the amendment process is a radical departure from the Constitution. To the contrary, it is in the Constitution. What's radical is states not using the power that the Constitution gives them. Radical is doing nothing to protect our liberties from the federal government itself.
And hoping Congress will do it.
And the bottom line is this. We all know that America needs mending. The question, who do you trust to do that? Do you trust leaders in Washington, D.C.? No! Or do you trust you, the people? I agree with the founders. The people know best.
Yeah, we do.
This may be our last chance to get this right. There is no other America. There is no other Texas. If you believe the people, not the government, chart our destiny. If you believe in freedom rather than tyranny, if you believe in the rule of law as opposed to the whim of leaders, if you believe we need to protect our unalienable rights to religious liberty, to own property, to bear arms, if you believe in the American brand of freedom that our mighty military has fought for from the very beginning, then now is your time to fight for it.